Dr. Josh McNall. Dr. McNall is a good friend of mine from college, and he is going to actually be here at New Life this coming Sunday, November 11th, to talk to us on Sunday morning and Sunday evening. On Sunday morning, we're going to hear a powerful message from him about the future of the church. And then that evening, he's going to do something really cool where he's going to take the entirety of the Bible, the big story, the narrative of the Bible, and condense it down to a short seminar. So if you've ever had a hard time understanding how the big story of the Bible kind of all fits together, you should be there on Sunday evening. But today I want to talk about something that he wrote in a blog post about children and about families. I put the link to that blog post on your discussion notes so you can go there and read it later if you would like. But in the words of Hannah Arendt, every generation is invaded by barbarians. We call them children. I love that quote. It could be because I have a 2-year-old son and another son on the way. The other day I caught Lincoln in the backyard eating worms. So I totally relate to the idea of them as barbarians. But about those children or barbarians, Jonah Goldberg wrote this: "Society doesn't civilize the barbarians. Schools don't either. That's what families do. Other mediating institutions certainly do important work, and they can fix some of the problems that come from an unstable home life. But all you have to do is talk to any teacher or social worker to appreciate that everything starts in the home. People learn virtue first and most importantly from family, and then from the myriad of institutions the family introduces them to, such as churches, schools, associations, etc." And I agree with Jonah wholeheartedly. I think we could reasonably blame every great problem in our society today on a breakdown of the family and of biblical parenting. The most important mission field we have as Christian parents is our children. If you don't raise your children right, who cares how much money you made in your life, or how much fun you have, or how impressive you are? If you are a parent, raising your kid is by far the most important job you have. Because if Lincoln grows up eating worms on a regular basis, it's not society's fault that failed him, or it's not society that failed him, it's me. Goldberg makes a strong argument that the traditional notions of marriage and monogamy and child rearing are crucial for a healthy society. And that's obvious. We all intrinsically know that it's true. And I don't even have to show you stats about the benefits of having 2 parents in the home because you've seen evidence of it on your own, in your own life. In the past, we've talked about how important it is to teach a child what their identity is and their context is, rather than telling brain-damaged teenagers to find it on their own. It's the reason Jews and Amish communities have such retention rates with their children. They don't let their children to discover who they are. They tell their children who they are. But there's another step beyond telling your children who they are, namely, they are Christians. We also have to teach them how to interact with the world. And that's what I want to talk about today. Most of the advice that Scripture gives about who to associate with is about choosing your friends wisely, about not admiring ungodly people, and about surrounding yourself with wise people. Here are some examples. Proverbs says, "Walk with the wise and become wise. Associate with fools and get in trouble." Another proverb is this: "Don't befriend angry people or associate with hot-tempered people, or you will learn to be like them and endanger your soul." 1 Corinthians says, "Don't be fooled by those who say such things, for bad company corrupts good character." Later it says, "Don't team up with those who are unbelievers. How can righteousness be a partner with wickedness? How can light live with darkness?" And then a psalm says, "Oh, the joys of those who do not follow the advice of the wicked, or stand around with sinners, or join with mockers." In other words, you can usually predict what kind of person someone is going to be by looking at who they call their friends. Jim Rohn famously said, "You are the average of the 5 people you spend most time with." We must play an active, almost annoying role in helping our children choose their friends. Why? It's because we can all trace our biggest mistakes in life to the people that we surrounded ourselves with when we made those mistakes. And we're not talking about sheltering our kids. We're talking about helping them build good relationships with people who will help them to become who they were meant to be. So stop here and answer the first 2 questions and then push play. Oh, and don't spend all of your time talking about how we shouldn't completely separate ourselves from the world, because when I come back, we'll talk about how to teach our kids to be in the world. So go ahead and do the first 2. Did I skip one? No, that's good. But we don't just invest in our children's lives so that they will live their lives in bunkers, separated from the world, living isolated from everyone else. So I want to read one more verse to you about not associating with the wrong people. But it's a puzzling one. 1 Corinthians 5:11 says, "I meant that you are not to associate with anyone who claims to be a believer, yet indulges in sexual sin, or is greedy, or worships idols, or is abusive, or is a drunkard, or cheats people. Don't even eat with such people." So did Paul just tell us not to eat with sinners? Hello, Paul. What about Jesus? Jesus ate with sinners all the time. In fact, that's one of the reasons why the religious people hated Jesus so much. So what was Paul saying? Our first inclination is to assume Paul isn't saying we can't eat with sinners. We're tempted to think that he's just saying we can't eat with sinners who commit those specific sins that he listed. But look at the list. Paul told the church in Corinth not to eat with people who are greedy. Jesus made it a regular habit to eat with tax collectors. Those are the most greedy people. So how do we balance the example of Jesus eating with tax collectors and then Paul's instructions not to eat with greedy people? Well, here's my theory. Paul is not saying that we shouldn't eat with sinners. Paul is saying that we shouldn't eat with sinners who claim to be actively following Christ. In other words, what is the motivation of eating with those so-called sinners? Are you eating with them in order to lead them, to teach them, to mentor them, or to lead them to Christ? Or do you just like hanging out with them because they do the things that you wish you could do? It may seem like I'm splitting hairs here, but I think this is an incredibly important distinction in how we decide who we hang out with. Our motivations about why we hang out with so-called sinners makes all the difference. I think that one danger in idolizing the nuclear Christian family is that that idea may coincide with a withdrawal mentally from society. But Christians are often tempted to leave the world to rot as we hunker down in our holy huddles. Josh McNall wrote, "There was, of course, a time in which Western civilization was overrun by so-called barbarians. And not the 3-year-old variety. Germanic hordes swept over Rome in the 5th century. And in the 8th century, Viking warriors began their raids upon the West. Yet in both cases, the barbarians were conquered, not so much by armies, but by a culture and a faith. The love of the family of God literally defeated the barbarians." He continued, "The Jesus movement originated as a fictive kinship group that sought to relativize the bonds of the nuclear family, so that they were made subservient to God's kingdom agenda. None of this changes, of course, the importance of the nuclear family in shaping a stable society. But it does mean that Christians must focus on more than just blood ties if we want to civilize the barbarians, ourselves included. Or, more rightly, if we want to see the kingdom come." Oh, that's good. We all have 2 families, our nuclear family and our Christian church family. And our world needs both of these families to be strong. So stop here and answer the last 3 questions, and I'll see you Sunday in church.